There are plenty of actors out there who do their own stunts. Sometimes this includes learning a bit of gymnastics or maybe some mixed martial arts, but there's also some other actors out there whose training went past the four walls of the gym. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and for one reason or another, these actors had to undertake some quite unexpected training in some weirdly specific skills. I'm Amy from What Culture, and here are 10 actors who received super specific training for movie roles. 10. Sigourney Weaver learned how to speak gorilla. Gorillas in the Mist. Sigourney Weaver received the second of her 3 Oscar nominations to date for her superb performance as naturalist Diane Fossey in Gorillas in the Mist, and it certainly was a well-earned nomination given the measures she took to convincingly perform opposite real gorillas. First and foremost, Weaver worked with the tropical field biologist and conservationist Ian Redmond, who trained her not only to understand gorillas' complex vocalizations but also to perform them herself. In effect, Weaver was taught to speak gorilla, allowing her to comprehend the subtleties of their spoken sounds and communicate with them in a rudimentary way. Though some sequences were filmed using people in gorilla suits for reasons of practicality and safety, this training nevertheless allowed Weaver to be completely convincing as someone who dedicated their life, that in the most ultimate sense, to the conservation of the mountain gorilla. 9. Robert Downey Jr. was trained to play tennis and the violin left-handed. Chaplin. Similarly to Weaver, Robert Downey Jr. earned a Best Actor Oscar nomination for his turn as Charlie Chaplin in Richard Attenborough's 1992 biopic Chaplin, and he went to considerable lengths to capture the essence of the Hollywood icon. Downey worked with a coach to imitate Chaplin's posture and the general way with which he carried himself, and was also taught to play the violin and play tennis left-handed like Chaplin, despite being naturally right-handed himself. Given that the actor is only seen playing left-handed tennis for a few seconds of the final film, it was quite an amount of arguably unnecessary effort. Nevertheless, those few left-handed tennis serves do actually seem completely believable, and Downey ended up with an Oscar nomination all the same, so who's to knock him? 8. Rooney Mara learned skateboarding to imitate a teenage boy, the girl with the dragon tattoo. Many eyebrows were raised when Rooney Mara was cast to play the goth hacker Lisbeth Salander. Given that Mara was best known to audiences for playing Mark Zuckerberg's demure ex, Erica Albright, in Fincher's The Social Network, many doubted her ability to play a part previously performed so brilliantly in the Swedish original. But of course, Mara gave herself over to an intense physical transformation, rendering her near unrecognizable, and per Fincher's exacting reputation, he insisted she do something incredibly specific for the part, and that was to learn skateboarding. Fincher wanted to make sure Mara shed as much of her traditional femininity as possible, hoping that by taking up skateboarding she'd adopt the physicalities of a teenage boy, which is, a bit reductive, but I'll bite. Well, it did pay off, as Mara received a Best Actress Oscar nomination for her dedication, and the lesson here, never doubt Fincher's wisdom. 7. Tom Cruise went undercover as a UPS delivery man to test his ability to blend in. Collateral. Tom Cruise may not have received any Oscars love for his performance as the calculating assassin Vincent, but it's nevertheless an impressively transformative against-type turn. Director Michael Mann is well known for the homework he gives actors before stepping onto set, and in addition to putting Cruise through an intensive weapons training program, he also insisted he work on his undercover tradecraft. Before filming the iconic nightclub shootout scene, Mann wanted to test whether or not Cruise truly could blend into a crowd, and so the filmmaker ordered him to go undercover as a UPS delivery man. Well, Mann did say FedEx, but the uniform clearly says UPS, and his mission was to deliver a package without his true identity being ascertained, and Cruise did just that, donning the UPS uniform complete with the hat and sunglasses to deliver a package, and at one point even sitting down to make conversation with a nearby randomer. 6. All main cast members learned card throwing from a master magician. Now You See Me. Though Now You See Me's magic tricks rely on a good deal of special effects wizardry, the main magician cast members did actually receive training to convincingly handle and throw the cards. Veteran magician David Kwong was hired as the movie's head magic consultant, spending much of his time, amongst other things, teaching card throwing to the cast. Dave Franco, who actually turned out to be one of the strongest students, even said that the first day of rehearsal wasn't them looking over the script, but rather throwing cards around a room. It's especially surprising that the cast were given extensive training, considering how most viewers would surely assume that the throwing was mostly achieved by either digital assistants or stand-ins. 5. Jennifer Lawrence learned how to skin squirrels. Winter's Bone. Jennifer Lawrence came to prominence with her Oscar-nominated performance in 2010's mystery drama Winter's Bone. Lawrence plays a 17-year-old girl who treks through the desolate Ozark Mountains in search of her missing father, whilst having to provide for the rest of her family in his absence. In one scene, she's shown demonstrating to her younger brother how to skin a squirrel, and indeed, Lawrence received pre-shoot training from one of her brother's friends in order to convincingly do the deed like a pro. She ended up courting controversy for the act in 2012, however, when, whilst on press tour for the Hunger Games, she said, quote, "I should say the squirrel wasn't real for Peter, but screw Peter." Peter did respond by criticising Lawrence for making light of an animal's demise, adding that she's young and the plight of animals somehow hasn't touched her heart. "I hope she'll try to make up for any pain she caused any animal who did nothing but try to eke out a humble existence in nature." But, you know, with all the dodgy things Peter is accused of doing, who are they to criticise her? 4. Jon Favreau learned to cook Cuban barbecue with a real food truck owner. Chef. Aside from the masterpiece that is Ratatouille, Jon Favreau's Chef is one of the best movies ever made about food, and that's in large part because there's authenticity baked into every single frame. Favreau plays a down-and-out chef who rejuvenates his love of cooking by opening a Cuban barbecue food truck, and in order to get ready for the film, he made contact with renowned chef Roy Choi, who himself created a gourmet Korean-Mexican taco truck. Choi was originally brought on as a mere consultant, but ultimately got a co-producer credit due to his extensive contributions to the film. Favreau ended up training at a culinary school and then working in one of Choi's kitchens to learn the craft of food truck barbecue, ensuring he knew the precise particulars of creating an authentic and, more importantly, a tasty Cuban sandwich. The results clearly paid off dividends, given the mouth-watering end result on screen. And let's face it, this had to be way more fun and delicious than any other training on this list. 3. Fran Kranz went to pot school. The Cabin in the Woods. The most iconic and memorable character from The Cabin in the Woods is undeniably Marty, the hilarious stoner whose role in the film ends up subverting many of the horror pothead cliches. But the actor Fran Kranz didn't just stumble onto set and pretend to be a toker. He, in his own words, went to pot school. For starters, he received training sessions from experts in rolling joints and lighting bongs, and during the pre-production period, divided his time between rehearsing his lines and practicing the physical act of getting high. Kranz said he would go to the production offices and smoke different kinds of marijuana, roll joints, and figure out the thermos bong contraption, doing so every morning for about 2 weeks. So yeah, the guy literally got paid to get high, which I just know is some of your dreams. 2. Adam Driver took a bus driving course. Patterson. Unlike most of the actors on this list, Adam Driver was trained in quite a mundane yet undeniably skillful activity for his lead role in the 2016 drama Patterson. The very aptly named actor plays a New Jersey bus driver who moonlights as a poet, and in order to convincingly slink into the role, he spent 2 months training to be a bus driver for real, even earning a legitimate commercial bus driver's license. Driver has spoken extensively about the challenges of learning to drive a bus, and his over-the-odds commitment to doing so despite little of the film actually showing off his vehicular talents. He said, quote, "I didn't have to do it, but I just thought it would open us up to getting some other shots and angles, and I only got to drive the bus for a couple of shots, but for me it was worth it." Driver claimed it was more about understanding the character and his routine than anything else, and it seemed to him that driving the bus made the most sense in bringing him closer to the character. 1. The cast went through a 19th century boot camp, The Village. M. Night Shyamalan's The Village purports to take place in 19th century Pennsylvania, and in order to help create an air of authenticity, Shyamalan put the film's entire ensemble cast through their paces. Before shooting started, the filmmaker had the cast take part in a 19th century boot camp, where for 3 weeks they reportedly gave up hot running water, mobile phones and computers, whilst also learning how to plow fields and even camp out in the woods. Joaquin Phoenix spoke highly of the experience, saying it helped everyone focus more on the film and get to know each other. Being thrown in at the deep end, plowing fields and starting up fires to cook forced everyone to really embody their characters. It's definitely an intense way to go about things that wouldn't work for every filmmaker, but for this one it definitely paid off. And that's everything for our list of 10 actors who received super specific training for movie roles. Which of these do you think paid off the most? Let us know in the comments below. And remember to check out whatculture.com for more lists and articles like this every single day. I've been Amy from What Culture, and I'll catch you next time.